Hey guys, I just wanted to make a quick note before we watch this video, and that is the difference between a quote and an estimate. An estimate is just an educated guess about what a project is going to cost. Uh, you can do an estimate over the phone with a customer to make sure they're in the right ballpark with you, and then go do a quote, or you can just work off an estimate for the whole job. A quote is where you give the customer an actual price of what the job's going to cost. You've quoted it. This is exactly what it's going to cost. The hard part with quotes is every time something changes, you have to do a change order. With an estimate, you're just going through, you're just doing it, and at the end of the job, you do a bill. That's the way I do it, and I make sure that the customer signs off on the concept and everything at the beginning of the job, and do everything legally and everything so I can defend it in court if God forbid we ever wind up in court. And I really haven't had a problem with that. Most customers, I just bring them in and say, look, this changed, look, that changed. Sometimes it saves the customer money. I had a customer save 3 grand on a project because my estimate was higher than it wound up costing. And then I've had customers that went the other way. That protected me. I didn't lose money on that job because I used an estimate system instead of using a quoting system. So that's the basic difference between an estimate and a quote. An estimate is an educated guess. A quote is a solid, definite price. And a lot of people use those phrases interchangeably, including me sometimes when I'm not paying attention. But just so you understand that going into this video, and it'll help you a little bit to understand what I'm talking about. Hey guys, I just want to do a quick video about estimating and how to sort out customers from window shoppers. There's a lot of people, especially this time of year in the spring, that will call you for an estimate, and they either have no intention of hiring you or they're going to call 5 other people and then just not hire you because you didn't sell it. So the best way that I have found, first of all, is in my area, you need to offer free estimating. If you don't offer free estimates, you will not even get your foot in the door. A lot of areas are similar to that. So many of the larger companies have full-time sales staff and they offer free estimates. The reality is that you need to offer free estimates, but you also don't want to waste your time. So how do you sort out the window shoppers from the people who are actually trying to hire somebody to work on their house? And the very first thing that I do, the very first filter that I use is homeowners only. And basically what that means is I don't do estimates for people who are renting their home or who are renting an apartment and that sort of thing. I used to get calls all the time. I haven't gotten so many recently, but I did get calls a lot from tenants in buildings that wanted to get estimates for their project. And what it boils down to is when you go do an estimate like that, you're not talking to the decision maker. And you're 9 times out of 10 just wasting your time. They can't hire you to work on that house. They cannot legally hire you to work on that house in most states. And so you're just wasting your time going to talk to them. And, maybe their landlord's a scumbag and, they have a project that needs to get done. And I feel sorry for them and I wish them the best, but there is no way that they are going to be able to hire you. The landlord's got to hire you. So that's just not a good place to waste your time, essentially. The next thing is, right alongside that, is landlords. Landlords are the worst people to work for. If you get in with a landlord, you have an in, you've done work for them before or whatever, maybe you know them, or maybe somebody that you trust referred them. That's one thing, and that can be some consistent work. But as a general rule, people who own a couple of houses are just looking for the cheapest person to work on the house. And if you're not trying to be the cheapest person, which I highly recommend you not trying to be the cheapest person, then that's not somebody you want to work for. It's a good job to do as far as being a technician, because you can just go in, there's nobody there. You can go in, you can lock the place up at night, leave your tools there, whatever. You can crank your music all the way up and go in there and just work and just do your thing, and you don't have to worry about dealing with people and customers and pets and kids in the house and all of those things. You don't have to worry about, not necessarily worry about drop claws on, and, so much dust and that type of thing. You can just do your thing, clean up, and leave, and you don't have to do all of the things that you need to do in a customer's house that is, an active customer's house where people are living and have kids and pets and that type of thing. So it's a really good job to have, it's a really good job to get. But the problem with that is 9 times out of 10, the landlord's just looking for the cheapest guy to do. And you don't want to be the cheapest guy. And so that's not a good place to waste your free estimates. So for landlords, no free estimates. Commercial work, no free estimates. I don't do a lot of commercial work anymore. I was born and bred in commercial work, and I've got out of that game, and my business does not do, I do very, very little commercial work, and it's only for specific people. So I can't really speak to that, but from my perspective, I don't do free estimates for commercial work. In my experience, commercial clients get somebody to do work, and then they always hire them. They have somebody's card who comes in and does the rug cleaning at the entrance, or does the display builds, or whatever it is, whether it's replacing lights and cleaning out lenses and stuff like that, whether it's a plumber or a maintenance guy or an electrician. They have one card for all of their buildings. I used to work in commercial glass for a couple of years, and there's a very, very, very big general contractor and maintenance company in our area who builds the commercial storefront style strip malls and that type of thing. And we had a signed contract that we were the only people that were allowed to work on their glass. And so when you're going and bidding something like that in commercial, whatever it is, you got to know that you're going in and you're bidding against somebody that you're probably not going to get the job. And so don't waste your time on it. Like I said, that's my experience. When I was in commercial, I wasn't the boss. I wasn't doing the estimates and all that paperwork and whatever. So I don't have very much experience there. But I do have experience in that field, and I do have experience in residential estimating and paperwork and stuff. And that's just the opinion that I've drawn. The next area you don't want to waste your time on is realtors and people who are buying houses. You would not believe the amount of phone calls I get for people that are going to look at a house and want me to come give them a free estimate on a house that they don't even own, and it's on the market. It's a house that's on the market. They're thinking about putting a bid on this house, and they want to know how much it's going to cost to fix it up. So they want me to come and give them a free estimate. That's like gambling on a gamble on a gamble. It's the chances that they're going to get that house are little to none. I have had one time where a customer called me to come look at a house that they were looking at, and I told them I do not do free estimates on those. I will do an estimate. I will come and do that. That is a service, though. And that's the bottom line with all of the non-free estimates, is do the estimate, but charge for it. But that's what I told them, is I do not do free estimates on this type of thing. And what I do is I charge a fee. I charge an hourly fee. It's not even my usual rate. It's about 2/3 of what I charge as an hourly. I charge an hourly fee for estimates, and walking around a house with you and that type of thing. And I have minimums put in place on it, and it includes my drive time to that location and back to my office, and so on and so forth, and all those, all those fees and whatever like that. And that's how I do estimates for non-homeowners. And they said, okay, we agreed to the terms. And then the day of, they called me and said that the realtor backed out on them. That's pretty typical. Quite honestly, that's very typical. You plan this, you get this in your day. You've never met these people. You don't know who they are. You're going to look at a project with them. And then at the last second, they back out, and you're left with a block of time that you have nothing to do. Fortunately, I was smart enough to know that this would probably happen, and I booked it for a Saturday, and it was a Saturday, so my nothing to do. I had plenty to do around the house and whatever. It was no big loss for me. But I saw it coming. I knew that that was a high possibility that they would back out at the last second. So I had other things in place. But if you don't have other things in place for that type of situation, then you could be up a creek without a paddle on that one. You could be sitting around on a Wednesday afternoon when you should be working. So just beware of that type of thing. The same customer called me back a couple days later and said they're looking at another house. Don't bother coming and looking. We'll figure it out. And then when we do buy, we'll just call you, because based on our conversations, you seem to know what you're doing, and you've got it together and whatever. So we'll call you and get an estimate after we buy the house. We don't want to waste any more of your time. And they did call me, and I did go give them an estimate when they finally purchased the house. I did not go and do that job. They got other estimates, and they went a different way. But what I'm trying to say in all that is that they weren't trying to waste my time. They were honestly trying to get a good opinion and not buy a house that's all, junked out and whatever like that, has problems that they can't see. And they were doing a very smart thing and bringing somebody that was knowledgeable with them to when they go and buy a house, knowing that the house was going to need some work. So not every customer out there is just trying to waste your time. And it's just an example of one customer who wasn't just trying to waste my time. But for every one of those, there's 99 other customers who don't give two flying you-know-whats about your time and about your life and about you. And they will waste 8 hours of your time and not care at all. So you just have to be careful with those. And the last one really is, once again, along the same lines, realtors. Don't ever give realtors a free estimate. Don't do it. In my area, and I know some people have some really good experience with realtors, but in my area, for every good realtor, there's 9 or 20 bad realtors. And they will waste your time more than anybody. They do not care about you or your time or nothing. They will never hire you. All they want is a piece of paper from you that says this is how much it's going to cost to fix these problems, so that they can hand that to their clients and say this is how much it's going to cost to fix these problems. And they want the cheapest thing out there so that they can sell the house and say, oh, this is only $1,000 worth of problems, when it's actually $10,000 worth of problems. So they want to what they want is they want the cheapest, most inexperienced company that they could possibly find to come in and lowball it so hard that they could sell the house to a client, and then the client gets blindsided by the actual repairs, not knowing the truth of what's going on. If they were to bring in an experienced contractor, the experienced contractor would not only charge them for the estimate, but give them an honest appraisal of what needs to be done and how much those repairs are going to cost, and it would look a lot worse in the eyes of the potential buyer. So that's what realtors are looking for when they want you to come give an estimate. Don't go do free estimates for realtors. That's the dumbest thing you could do. If you have a realtor that you already work with, once again, just like landlords, If you got one that you already work with, that you already have a rapport with, and that you know they're not just trying to waste your time, first of all, if they're just trying to get a piece of paper written up so that they could sell the house, then they're not going to waste your time. They're going to pay you for your time if they're a good, honest person. So that's just first of all. But if you have somebody who you already have a rapport with, you're already working, it's a little bit different. But as a general rule, when some random realtor calls you up and asks for a free estimate, don't do it. And then the last one is contractors. Believe it or not, don't ever give a contractor a free quote. There is no such thing as a free quote for a contractor. If you've been in the commercial side, the residential side, new builds, remodel projects, additions, whatever, when a project is started, a customer has to have a set of drawings for their project. And I know a lot of people watching this might do handyman type thing or smaller remodels where we don't work off a set of plans. We're just working off of existing what's going on and just either repairing or replacing and not really moving things around a lot. And we don't really work off a set of blueprints. I generally am not working off a set of blueprints. If I'm doing a kitchen, I've got a set of blueprints because the cabinet makers will have or will create a set of blueprints to work off of where the cabinet's going, whatever like that. But the rest of any electrical or plumbing or whatever that's getting moved or anything like that, not really working off a set of blueprints. We're just working off of a level of trust. So, excuse me, a lot of people, you're not working off a set of blueprints. But when a contractor calls you and they're doing new builds or big additions, small additions, any addition needs a set of blueprints. Remodels, not so much. When a contractor calls you and wants an estimate, you're going to tell them one of two things. You're going to either tell them your footage price, your square footage price, your linear footage price of a basic install so that they can get an idea of where you're at, or you're going to require them to submit a set of blueprints to you for appraisal and quote. And you are not going to be able to do an estimate. Contractors do not accept estimates like I do. I do estimates for all my projects because I know that all my projects we're going to start off with a plan, and then the plan's going to get thrown in the trash about halfway through. And this is going to change, that's going to change, there's going to be 100 change orders. I know that going in, so I do not do quotes, I do estimates. And then at the end of the job, you get a bill. That's how I do things. After 7 years of doing this, on my own, I have learned that quotes are trash. You can quote an addition. You can quote a blueprint. You can quote a lot of things, and I know how to do quotes. But when it comes to remodeling kitchens and bathrooms, you open up that wall and you're going to find out a lot of things that you didn't know. And when you're all done finding out all those things, if you got to do 10, 20, 30 change orders on all of those things, you're just wasting everybody's time and not getting the job done. So that's why I do estimates on all of my stuff, not quotes. But if you got a set of blueprints, contractors submitted to you, then you can do a quote because you're quoting what is written down and you have everything documented. And you have to do a contract and all of that good stuff. But with contractors and doing quotes and that type of stuff, never, never, ever, never, never submit a free quote to a contractor. I've had so many GCs call me wanting me to do their tile work, wanting me to do their trim work, wanting me to do their cabinet work, whatever it is. So many contractors want me to come in and give them a price for free to do their work. Don't ever, never, don't do it. They're just looking for another, like I said, with landlords. They already have somebody that they're getting the work done from. They already have their niche people that they're getting done, and all they're looking for is a cheaper price. If this is not somebody that you know that you met through a mutual friend or whatever it is like that, if they just randomly called you up, they're just either looking for a lower quote than the guy that they already have because they're cheap, or else they're looking for an additional quote than the guy they already have because their customer wants more estimates on their project. So they're looking to bulk up their estimates. A lot of customers got this idea from sites like Home Advisor and watching the news with news reporters have no idea what they're talking about. And everybody tells them, go get 3 quotes, go get 3 estimates, go get 3, go get 3. Everybody wants you to go get 3. And so guess what? 2 of those guys lost out. And it's not necessarily bad advice to get 3 quotes or to get 3 estimates. That's not necessarily bad advice, but as a contractor or as a handyman, you need to be aware that you're not the only one giving them a price. And so what are you doing to mitigate your losses on that time that you spent giving out all of those free quotes and estimates? A lot of guys, they don't do free quotes and estimates. They charge for them, and then they'll, charge it off on the job if they actually sell it. There's a lot of areas like here in Western New York, you cannot do that. If you do that, you will not even get in the door. They will hang up the phone on you. So this is what I do. Free quotes for homeowners. If you own and live in your home, you get a free quote. If you do not own and live in your home, you do not get a free quote. That's how I divide it. That's how a lot of bigger contractors around here divide things. So really easy, simple concept, free quotes for homeowners.